Hello, my name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. Today, I want to talk about data privacy and a recent lawsuit that the state of Nebraska has filed against General Motors and OnStar. So, Nebraska has a data protection law called the Nebraska Consumer Protection Act, CPA. But in this particular case, they're also using the Uniform Deceptive Trade Practices Act, which is UDTPA. So this particular case actually is a set of cases. So as a result of some of the reporting that Kashmir Hill had done in the New York Times, we've seen some actions taken against car companies, especially GM. GM also has a case going on in Texas around driver data. And so Nebraska has jumped on board and decided that they want to do this as well. Nebraska does not have a consumer agency. So the state attorney general is filing this case against GM and OnStar. So basically, they're alleging that GM and OnStar took data of people without their consent in cars, tracking their information, packaging that information, selling it to insurance companies and other data brokers without the consent of people. They also allege that dealerships sign people up for things like OnStar, making them feel as though that these were required features or required services for their car to work. This particular law, it has a fine for companies up to 7,500 per occurrence, and so we're going to see how this definitely plays out. But this particular law has a cure period, so if any company is involved in a lawsuit for these types of data sharing practices, they can within 30 days, if they cure it, they'll have a lesser penalty. But this apparently did not happen in this GM case. This is very interesting. So Nebraska is one of the many states that has recently adopted these privacy laws, but then we're also seeing states using some of their older consumer protection laws or like these uniform deceptive practices codes, almost like they're mimicking the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, by using unfair and deceptive practices. Also, as I've said many times before, we're also seeing this undercurrent of the US trying to define sensitive data and including location data in that. And because cars collect location data, and this has been bundled up into some of these issues and why it becomes a big deal, not just for car companies, but for any company that's collecting someone's location data. They need to look really closely at why they're collecting that data and how they're handling that data. So data that falls into those sensitive data categories. I know a lot of companies don't think about location as sensitive, but it has been and is being articulated like that, not only at a state level, but the FTC had come out with a blog post a number of years ago saying that they felt the location data was sensitive data, and they're enforcing based on that belief around the country. So I think we're going to start to see a lot more cases, even if states don't have specific consumer protection privacy laws. They can still take action under these deceptive trade practices act, especially if they feel as though consumers are not aware of how their data and their information is being used in not just cars, but in any other type of system that's collecting their personal data, where they may not be able to either be aware, where there's a lack of transparency, a lack of consent, or just a lack of knowledge in general of how their data is being used and transmitted in the future. That's it. Thank you.